Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
At first, we hit your gadgets with our state-of-the-art digitalized mobile studio with the debate on the road behind the wheels. Later, we launched our magnificent studios located on Plot 1A, Sewagude Close, Lukulinanganda, Machindye, Kampala, where we bring to you our must-watch shows like The Mighty Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m., Hotline, Mondays, 7 p.m. As for legal matters, Twins at Bar, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Wednesdays, 6 p.m. is Afro-Caribbean Link, where we connect Africa with the Caribbean. Voltage on Thursdays, 7 p.m., featuring a youthful panel. Interface with Dr. Kiza Besije every Friday, 12 p.m. with his call to action against injustices. Snap Talk, Saturdays, 6 p.m. with the trio. A must-watch, The Political Dice, Sundays, 8 p.m. with the duo that never stammers, and so much more. Watch us live on all our social media platforms. We are the Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Good evening, Uganda, and welcome once again to this edition of the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, and on behalf of Digitalk TV, I would love to welcome you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is a cold evening in Kampala where we're streaming live from. So if you are moving about getting back home, or for those who are night travelers or night workers, it's very, very important that you carry yourself an umbrella. If not an umbrella, please get yourself a jacket or a raincoat, because in Kampala it looks like it's going to be falling cats and dogs. So it's very, very good if you're able to get yourself a jacket or a raincoat in that particular regard. And of course, we are always here every Monday, starting from 7 to 9 p.m., having a conversation with you, and of course touching base on some of the issues that are happening in this part of the world. As we speak right now, a lot of energy is in Kisoro district as we wait for the elections for the woman member of parliament for that particular district. We are going to have a by-election right there, and of course we'll be touching base. Today I saw Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu trying to rally for his candidate in that particular campaign. We shall wait and see how it will be going down in Kisoro district. But of course, around the country and around the globe, it looks like everything is not that easy, or it's not yet good. I saw a truck that had an accident, a fuel tanker, and people are still going to this particular tank to draw fuel for themselves. Please, let's be very careful in that particular regard. Remember what happened in Chigogwa? We don't want to see something happen like that once again. But in the world of international politics, Donald Trump is the new president-elect for the Republic of America. Donald Trump is now the 47th president, and of course he has a historic comeback in modern history. We've not seen a president who has been ousted out of office, re-elected again, and of course bouncing back for his last term. So Donald Trump was able to sweep the majority vote, or what you call the popular vote, but was able also to win the electoral college. It's not every day that you find a president who wins both, but this time round the Republicans, and headed by Donald Trump, are now going to be steering USA for the next 4 years. And of course a lot of things and a lot of sentiments have been shared by various people, some congratulating Donald Trump and some other people not really agreeing with this particular gentleman. So what's the agenda for Trump, and of course how does it directly affect us as Africans and as Ugandans? And many of the Africans I've talked to seem to agree with Donald Trump being president of the USA, maybe because of his conservative ideologies, or maybe because he's a better candidate in their particular regard. But here in Uganda, contention over the Coffee Amendment Bill, I think we can finally say that it's over, because the bill has been passed into act. And remember, after it is passed into law, that means the president will have to assent to it. When the president assents to it, it will be confirmed as a legislative entity or piece of work, and of course it will be legally binding at the end of the day. For those who do not know it, this particular amendment seeks to dissolve the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, UCDA, and all its duties and functions being moved to the Ministry of Agriculture. Many members of parliament were not in agreement with this particular bill, but it was passed because the numbers were enough in parliament. Now, another contentious bit about this bill was that some of the legislators had to fight. Honorable Atiku and Honorable Francis Zake entered into a fist fight following some alterations in that particular debate, and of course the plenary was put to a standstill for more than 30 minutes, and some legislators were moved out from the assembly, and this law was passed in that particular regard. What does this mean for the democracy and for the sanctity of this particular arm of government? We shall be talking about that in today's edition. Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm joined by Honorable Joseph Ochieno. He is from the Uganda People's Congress, UPC, and he's always here with us every particular Monday to touch base on how the country is going, and of course to throw more light on some of the issues that are happening in Uganda today. If you have any question for him, feel free to share it through our social media platforms. We are at Digitalk TV, we are at The Alternative Uganda, that is on Facebook, X or former Twitter, but also on YouTube. We are streaming live, so feel free to drop in those particular comments. For me, I'm called Edgar Mathew Karuhanga, and of course I am the host for this particular program every Monday starting from 7 to 9. Allow me welcome the guest of the day today, Honorable Joseph Ochieno. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here with you.
How are you today?
A little bit exhausted. I had to abandon the car on Ginger Road once again and try and come here on time. But I realized that somewhere around Ginger Road roundabout, there was also vehicles that belonged to Mr. Museveni that were also squeezing in with others. Apparently traffic had been cleared to give them way. So part of the reason for the bad traffic. But I know that Mr. Museveni is coming from Bukedi, my home, former home district now, my sub-region. It's a visit that is nothing else but NRA campaigns. It's a visit in the name of monitoring projects and teaching people how to be rich. You know, governments don't teach people how to rich. Governments create enabling environments for people to be rich.
For us here, they invest, you bring money like PDM and they give it to you. And for example, 1 million and you can build wealth from that.
And then you can become a billionaire.
From that one.
From that one. But for them, they go into the national till, they pick and pick and pick directly. So you don't have to do businesses. And sometimes, if that's not enough, you can steal from Mabati coffers. If that is not the case, then you can go and steal from the roads coffers. If that's not the case, you can steal gold. If that's not enough, then you can go to Achole land and steal in the name of Balalo. If that's not enough, then you can remember that you go to Congo allegedly to fight for Anglo-America, and then you take all their timbers and golds, and when the Congolese take you to court, you know, billions to be paid still comes out from an average poor Ugandan pockets, and it's business as usual. So that's sort of how I am today. But also, I remember having a conversation with somebody yesterday who wanted to teach me how to reconcile with this country and with the military dictatorship of this country. And the person was at pains to push for me to be delivered religiously in order to discover a reason to appreciate Mr. Museveni. And that was a difficult one, a difficult evening yesterday. But that in passing, yes, the week went. I am not particularly happy man because I am a progressive left. I'm Republican, but Republican from an ideological perspective. American Republican Party is a conservative party.
Yes.
The Democratic Party of America is the progressive left political party, which UPC associates with. So the Democratic Party of Uganda would possibly be an ally of the Conservative Republican Party in America and the Conservative Party in Britain, just for our views.
Yes, sir.
And so, regardless of who the leaders are, I would seek to support a sister party, an ideologically coherent, related political party.
Yes.
And the reason is because progressive left political parties will tend to be people-focused. They will tend to be very focused around social issues. They'll tend to be able to, they'll tend to want to check excess profit. They'll tend to check national thieves. They'll tend to recognize that in every economy, in all governments all around, that, you know, there is always 0.1% in Uganda's case, or the 1% in many of these countries that control 50% of the national economy. And progressives like ourselves tend to say that's not fair.
Yeah.
However, if you're like Zuckerberg or Elon Musk and then you make your money and you become that, that's fine. But you should pay your fair share of the taxes, but it should not be at the expense of others.
Oh.
You see. But a government that creates enabling environments should be able to do so in such a manner that everybody is able to have a fair share of the national cake.
Yes.
And so...
Equitability.
Indeed. And that's my politics. Now, in America, it happens to be the case that Donald Trump comes from a conservative background of polity. You know, 20, 30 years ago, like in businesses, before they joined active politics, people were not sure whether many of these guys can decide to join any of the political parties because they're not as tribal as some of us at this end of the world. So at one stage, he could easily have thought, Democrats. However, what has been known of him is his racist undertones. What has been known of him is his chauvinism. What has been known of him is his misogynism. And what has been known of him is some of his dubious business deals. But particularly in the last 15 or so years when Barack Obama cropped up, Trump was amongst the leading campaigners to neutralize Barack Obama, the young Obama emerging for the Democratic Party.
Yes.
And the campaign was that Barack Obama was a Muslim,
Yes.
as if it's criminal to be a Muslim or to belong to another faith group. And I know sometimes Africans, particularly young Africans, I noticed that even within Christianity, people battle, including the streets of Kampala. I know some people battle in my bookhead in Tororo simply because the other is the other Christian.
Yeah.
Eh?
Even up to today, I thought that was
I am saying those things are real. Wow. They do happen.
Okay.
But of course, you also know, don't say that when you know that even here within your own program, some Christians will ask, if you're not saved, if you're not born again, you're not good enough, you're not a Christian. And then fast forward, some Muslims have issues with Christians, just as some Christians have issues with other faiths.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about here in Africa. I think matters of faith, matters of God should be individual and personal. But of course, communities go on to run with these things in such a emotive manner that you sometimes see families, divided between families, communities between communities, and in many cases in politics we run with it. So somehow, because Donald Trump has presented as a closer ally to Israel and is presented as a religious conservative. And in recent times, there have been discussions around, in Uganda's case, homosexuality. It's amazing how Ugandans madly have thought, some Ugandans, that Donald Trump is their friend.
Hey, I had a lady, a speaker, saying that now that Donald Trump is in power, the sanctions are gone.
That sanctions are gone.
Yes, you had the Speaker of Parliament.
Yes, my beautiful.
And that's the mindset that many of
my beautiful sister. Good enough, I think she represents the majority of her lot of thinking, but that is really not. That's really not the case. So people run for Trump for that, forgetting that Trump, as I said, on faith, claimed Obama was a Muslim, which he wasn't. And number two, most importantly, pushed for the idea that Barack Obama was not an American citizen and that he did not qualify, particularly not born in America. Of course, American citizen, you can qualify, can get the citizenship, but you have to be born, to have been born in America to become president of America. I think some people are very lucky this end of the world. Maybe Uganda should also change those so that maybe in the future, we, But anyway, that's a different topic. So Trump taunted Obama. Once Obama won the Democratic Party nomination, and Obama then went to beating Hillary Clinton, went on to beat John McCain to become president. Fantastic president, very popular president, completely neat, no single scandal in America as far as Barack Obama is concerned. Not a single one.
Exactly.
Sort of unheard of in recent times, except of course under his presidency was when Gaddafi happened. But so I need to put this in context. So that's how good it was. But the established white America, the established conservative America, could not come to terms with the fact that an African, meaning black person, a black boy had come in and won the presidency. So Trump, for Africans and particularly interesting Ugandans, Trump is a creation of a counter Obama, counter you, counter race, counter black, counter the other. Do you get it?
Why would one say, if he's that, which I agree with you, according to what, why would the liberal America we all know choose such a leader over the Kamala Harris, who one would say she has been an incumbent, she's been in power, she's black and of course has a bit of Latino blood. She is pro those liberal tendencies, right? Why would they go for a conservative?
America is not a liberal country.
Oh, they profess to be liberal.
No, America is not a liberal country. You know, and unfortunately, I started this as part of my introductory things going on and on, but this is a bit of a decent dialogue today. Fine. No. The average American is a very inward American, a very inward person. Most Americans don't know anything beyond their own states. Most Americans don't know what is happening anywhere outside America. Most Americans don't think any other country except America is a country. Most America sees America as basically global boss.
Which one would say is.
No, from a, they're not global boss, being powerful.
Superpower.
You know, being powerful, being strong. Edgar, I want to get concerned. You're an anchor, so you're a young celebrity. I don't expect you to be walking down the streets of Zambia, and because you're a television presenter, you're walking on people's heads.
You cannot do that.
No. So, and so you're putting on a fantastic suit. You're always very smart by the young man. So on your way to town via Kisenyi, you don't walk on people's heads because you're smart and special. You know. So, so most Americans don't really know what's going on around the world, and they really don't care about what's going on or what goes on outside the world. So long, and that's why, so long as it does not interfere with their peace. That's why they go ahead and police the whole world, you know, but for themselves, you know. So most America is not liberal at all. Now, what Donald Trump did was, in seeing the threat of dominion, and I didn't say this, that the politics of Caucasian, white, Anglo-Saxon, typical representation of white race is sort of Anglo-Saxon purity, in quote, white, and is best represented by a man. So don't forget that until around the time I was being born, women and black people in America did not have the right to vote. Did you know that? So just think about it. So as recent as 50, 60 years ago, you know, black people didn't have the right to vote. Black people won the right to vote, I think, about 55 years ago. Did you know that? Africans in America. And women as recent as that. So, so that is the kind of country you're talking about. So basically, you women, you know, while UPC is campaigning that,
But US is a masculine state, so
the way you're saying it, the way you're saying it is almost like, it's okay. No, it's not.
No, you know, the thing is,
I'm a father of fantastic
for
girls.
example, UK is a feminine state, and all of
No, what do you mean?
a feminine state which has experienced even leaders
no.
who are women.
No, that is
Yeah,
absolutely no, Edgar. That's misleading. That's misleading.
But it is true.
No, a free state, a free community, a free people, a free person, an open-minded, progressive person, and a sensible average citizen, including particularly those funny people who profess my Jesus. Okay? Yeah?
Yes, sir.
No. Every human person is born equal. Every human person is born equal. I repeat that. And it does not matter from anywhere. From Nagongre of Tororo to Ntungamo of the other place to even Nyabushozi near Rohama, where there are special gods for Auntie Janet, you know, Johannesburg or anywhere else, all of us human persons are born equal, with equal rights. And in the face of Obwana Jesus,
We are the same.
you're the same.
Yes, sir.
So that is whether it's on race, sex, geographical location, social identities, or plus anything else. In any case, maybe when I say that, the political people who will say that royals will be exceptions, they're not. You know, they're not. Because that's part of the argument. That's actually, thankfully for me, UPC, I'm a Republican. And that's what I'm saying. I do not believe that anybody should be a special human being by virtue of an accident of birth or being born a child.
It does not make them special.
No, I'm contextualizing that before taking you back to the Americans.
Yes, please.
So really, therefore, it is actually, it's crazy that an average American who claims that they're powerful, who claims that they're civilized, who claims that they're so special in that way, so therefore so sensibly clever, and who claims a special relationship even with Zionist Israel, not actually moderate Israel, but Zionist Israel, you know, should say that a woman is less of a human person than a man. Do you get it?
I get what you're saying, sir.
And particularly for us, maybe, you know, that, so our mothers in the households are deputies to our dads. Just think about it in that way. So no. It is actually inward. Is that sense of conservatism is backward.
Oh, saying we cannot entrust a lady with power.
It is absolutely backward. But anyway, Trump's thing was not about that. Traditional America is that America where there's even an ordinary average white working class person, you know, thinks anybody of color is a slave. Thinks anybody of color is not worthy. And so therefore, if thinks that anybody of the other gender, you know, your job is to make a cup of tea. Come bring a cup of tea, darling, on the table.
So, okay, where is America going, and especially us in the foreign policy as Africans who are excited for Trump?
I'll take you there. You guys enjoy your excitement of Trump, but I'm not.
Because everyone seems to be excited.
So, I don't know your everyone, I don't know your circles, I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned. But anyway,
the people I know seem to be excited.
So, but I understand some of the excitement, we can discuss that. I'm saying that then, this Donald Trump, you know, representing conservative white supremacist America.
Yes, sir.
In 2007, sees this average African boy from Kogelo also wanting to be president. And presidents, as you know, is not all about political power. It's also about status. It's also about privilege. It's also about economic power. And the American case is also about appointment of judges. And so therefore, it means that over a period of time, you really change the national trajectory of the country in a very big way, including things to be big legislation. Exactly. And particularly big legislations in areas where these issues are not like where you would, where you would talk about the street businesses of Uganda's National Assembly, where you can slap your colleague if you so wish. No, but so these are much more serious than that. So Trump emerges to represent a wave of people who say, whoop, we are being taken over. But let me give you context. The subsequent election of Barack Obama as the Democratic Party candidate showed that the Democratic Party had moved over a period of time in terms of thinking and perception.
Exactly.
The Democratic Party had moved then, if in 1987, 2007, it's over a 20-year period, when the first major candidate was the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who coined the things that I run with these days every now and again, that we are somebody as Africans, that you people, as black people, you must know that you're also human. I'm pushing this, you know? And then he would go back and say again, I am a somebody. I am a somebody, you know.
Yes, please.
So, believe in you, in particular for the average African-American boy, you know, who is now an endangered species, and an African boy, particularly in most of those diaspora places, by the in Europe and North America, black boys actually really struggle very much for information, generally.
Yeah.
And perhaps they're the most disadvantaged of all genders and communities. So Jesse Jackson does not win the Democratic Party nomination, and so it goes simply because he was black. Okay. Very articulate, very clever, very well known, and very rounded. And then the Democratic Party manages to elect some very boring guy called Michael Dukakis, who then goes on to be beaten by George Bush Jr., George Bush Sr., you know, for the nomination. So 20 years later, as part of those campaigns, the Democratic Party came of age, elected Obama. So part of those had been because of, you know, if you like, public orientation and communities change, diversity and things like that. But it's also about changes in demographics.
Yes.
And so the Democratic Party has substantially then changed. But maybe also we African peoples had also changed, meaning that we had been much more constructively engaging, and had also shown that we killed the art of prejudice. Exactly. That sometimes when NRA came here, and when NRA came to power, lest you forget, Northerners and Easterners were like mini animals. We didn't qualify, because that's a fact in Uganda. But taken across other parts of the world, blacks are seen to be people who are not clever, we're not particularly beautiful, we're not particularly honest, we're possibly not intelligent enough, we're possibly not trustworthy, and we don't have the capacity. Those kind of stuff, nonsense thing that ran over slavery. Edgar, these are things that we still must continuously fight against. And I think you see why I'm using the Trump element to give you an element of, by the way. Exactly. And yet it's real. It's real. The argument I'm giving you is an argument that CNN is not able to run with. Yes, because aspects of CNN, although they're progressive media, they're still white establishment media. And so therefore some of these issues are the discomforts of some of the grandchildren of slavery who are white. Yes, sir. Okay? With their own special privileges. But then with the changes that Obama then goes on to win the national elections. Yes, sir. Two things had happened, possibly three. As we conclude, yeah. One, that young people are generally more progressive than older people.
They're open-minded.
I can see you being very excited.
Yeah, because I agree with you.
You think you're more excited than I am, more open-minded than I am. Women are much more open-minded and progressive than men. You say yes, sir. Also, yes, sir. Because that's also generally true. Okay. And then with the and youth population growing, yes, women also relative in there, but most importantly, minorities, as they would call them in America, people who are non-white population in America had also increased, massively grown. So therefore,
those are the demographics you are talking about.
Precisely, and those are the demographics that makes it possible, generally, for Barack Obama to win at the elections. What happens? That triggers a reaction, a counter-revolutionary reaction in traditional white America. Yeah. You guys, we're in trouble if we do not wake up.
If Obama can come and become president.
Obama has come and become president. Two things. One, for the Republican Party, they're waking up. But two, the establishment of conservative America. What am I saying? I'm saying that, look, Obama has become president. Unless we counter this, yes, more blacks are going to become leaders in the future.
If Kamala becomes president.
And maybe it would even have Ali, yes. But more importantly, the Democrats will always beat us Republicans. But then it means that we whites, we are becoming an endangered species in our own place.
And that's where the notion of make America great again.
Young man, there you go. That is Trump. So It's extraordinary that any average African, any average person of color would think that Trump is their hero. Same thing that happened with Brexit. And these are going to come out part of some bits from my future writings upon my books. Brexit, that, oh, you know, Britain or whatever, the swamping thing. It was not about Eastern Europeans. You know, the immigration campaigns in Britain, and I was part of seeing some of these things, was about we are being swamped by this other. The other were you, blacks, exactly. The Africans. It had very little to do with the Polish people. Very little to do with Eastern Europeans. You know, yes, the argument for Brexit and being anti-European and openness was progress. But anyway, so this happens. Trump galvanizes the base of conservative America, and they are resolved. You know, in elections, including here where Andrew Mende will tell you that 10 million people have not gone to vote. That's absolutely true. Excite your base, your critical to come out. You will win elections. So the conservative America saw in Trump their new front face. So he wins that election, fumbles, loses it, and reorganized again. And this time, this waves it. And that's the answer.
Thank you so much. This is Joseph Ochieno, and of course, you're still watching the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. We're touching base on the politics of the U.S., but that country has had a democracy for more than 300 years. It's now time we come to our young democracy here in Uganda. A new legislation was passed, and of course this is the National Coffee Amendment Bill. I can now call it an act because it has been passed by Parliament, and of course we're waiting for the President to assent to it. The President has already showed that he is highly interested in coffee. A question that many Ugandans ask themselves, why the interest in coffee? But when you listen to Mr. Museveni, it feels like coffee is just some other entity. Of course, UCDAs, and coffee is just an entity of the bigger, rationalization policy of government. So it is not about coffee itself. It is a bigger concept where most of the government agencies have been merged with ministries to help in saving of government resources and things like that. But after this contentious bill has been passed, what next? Especially after what happened there. But let me first talk to you, Honorable Ochieno. This bill has finally been passed in Parliament, so we can call it an act of Parliament. What do you think about this new law? And just to paint a picture, it's not about coffee alone. In fact, in that particular debate, the UNRA, Uganda National Roads Authority, has also been merged with the Ministry of Transport and Works. So it's a general rationalization policy that came from Salim Saleh that President Museveni is implementing. What do you think about these new developments?
It came from Salim Saleh?
Yes, he said on the advice of General Saleh in 2021.
Who's General Saleh in government?
He's the leader of Operation Wealth Creation, but I think he's also the brother to the president.
So what job has the brother to the president in determining something as major as rationalization of ministries and departments?
I can bring you other things that gentleman has led. I don't know under what capacity he stands, but but one thing I know, he's a presidential advisor, but he's also the leader of the Operation Wealth Creation project.
No, I think this is something that we've discussed for such a long time that I'm actually genuinely now quite tired. The only thing we can do is to deal with a few specifics. I think it's important that you're right that Mr. Museveni decided to do what he did, including merging some of the critical agencies on the advice of his brother. And because we also know that his brother has been involved in a series of businesses, including coffee and interests, and because we know that his son-in-law is a chief communications person and global advertiser for these things called coffee, and because there's a girl called Pineti, this girl here, called Pineti, who is
lady.
No, he called her a girl.
You're using his words.
There's this girl here called Pineti, introduced to him, and that she knows to do she knows to do hospitals, but we don't know about what has happened to Loboa Hospital that girl tried to do.
And there is a lot of money that is going in that particular hospital, as you've mentioned, billions of Ugandan shillings. I think even in this budget there is some money that has been allocated there.
But you don't look like somebody whose money has gone into that thing. Are you sure you pay your taxes?
I do pay my taxes, but the money has gone there.
So Pineti, and that Pineti is Kofi, and Mr. Museveni told you that he is the one. So if you want to question this woman, go to him.
He said, I'm the one who was behind Pineti.
So in other words, whatever the details, whatever the rationale, the Kofi thing is Mr. Museveni, his brother, his son-in-law, Pineti, and whatever. Thankfully, people will grow coffee, and hopefully they will not grab from them like they grab gold from Karamoja for nothing. So people will be paid. But whatever the details of the whole thing, we know why the thing has been rationalized, or is being rationalized. Of course, rationalization.
Okay, you're going to ask. I was going to ask you.
Of course, rationalization in principle.
Yeah, in rationalization in principle.
The case made for it is not bad, but I didn't expect it to come from Museveni's family.
Do we
argument,
care where the idea
no,
comes from?
And of course we do.
I thought if the idea is okay.
It's crude hypocrisy. How can Mr. Museveni talk about rationalization when I just told you what I saw down Ginger Road? If Museveni's convoy goes to 40 vehicles, sometimes to 50, that's where rationalization should begin. Yes. If Museveni has got, 40 drivers and he has 40 nurses, whatever, that's where rationalization should begin. Staff in his office. I think about 12 chefs. That's where rationalization should begin. The guy is allegedly a soldier, so the soldiers, he should know how to diet. Me, I eat sometimes once a day. So the guy shouldn't eat so much. So his darling wife is also a minister, So she also raises salaries and whatever. And so, in fact, once in a while they could actually share the ration from the wife. His son is an army commander. Army ration. I've lived with soldiers. I also have soldiers in my family. I've had soldiers in my family. Oh, you get your ration, man. Yeah, a kilo of beans can do very well. And once in a while, if they slaughter, and they share with you a few kilograms of meat. So his son is an army commander. So top. So that means So that's not a poor family. Own our money. So basically, look, rationalization should start from that guy's home. 3 billion Uganda shillings every day you spend on some 7 per day. That's where...
That's $1 million, close to $1 million.
That's where rationalization should start from. Start in his household, then go to those convoys. As I said, Obote convoy was no more than, I think, with the exception of a military anti-tank Land Rover. I don't know that there are more than 4 vehicles for Obote alone, unless there are some cabinet colleagues following him, with him. They're not. And in Kampala, the lead things in front would be police outriders. In fantastic, beautiful motorbikes, bicycles, by the way. You guys, you miss. Museveni isn't blocking you guys, man. Smart. Police outriders, followed by 2 uniformed Mercedes Benzes, plus possible another, and the found Land Rover. So Bote's convoy, no more than 7 vehicles in maximum.
First, we
in the streets of Kampala, between Obote's office in parliamentary buildings and also State House, and to his home where?
Kololo.
In Kololo. And that's Obote 2 that I saw. I didn't see Obote 1, but that was Obote 2 that I saw, and I was in Kampala. And that time, there was war in Luwero. That time, the Mr. Musevenis were throwing bombs here in Kampala.
He needed more security at the time.
Obote deserved more security at the time. But, and at the time, rationalization. I think I'll repeat this. The only other minister who had an extra vehicle was Minister for Internal Affairs, Dr. Kirunda, fantastic guy, Luluza. John Luluza Chirunda. Yeah? He had a police pickup of police special forces. Now, Kirunda's convoy, Kirunda started having that convoy, that special force full thing, when there was an attempt on his life at Crescent House by terrorists. And who were the terrorists? The NRA. So there was an attempt on Dr. Kirunda's life. At his office, they threw a grenade in Crescent Towers. As a result, the reinforcement included police officers in it. So Kirunda had how many vehicles? 2.
Minister for Internal Affairs.
Yes, Minister for Internal Affairs and Secretary General of Uganda People's Congress. Minister and Secretary General. Rationalization. Does it make sense, young one?
Yeah, I get you. But then my question would be, because now, I want you to just give me, based on because now someone has given us issues. He has said there is duplication of resources. There are labor problems. There's too much labor.
I like your cap, by the way. Digital.
So when you look at these particular issues themselves,
Edgar, I like this cup.
Yes,
very
sir.
nice.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Can we counter-react? Can you give us issues based on evidence on why you disagree? Because I believe Ugandans are disagreeing on this issue. I
was listing it for Ugandans in the most solid way.
No, you were giving what was in the past, but giving us issues to say, away from the mistrust itself, if we have for Mr. Museveni, or you have for Mr. Museveni, give us issues to base on and say, because of this and this and this issue, coffee should not be taken back. UCDA shouldn't be taken back to the Ministry of Works and Transport. But you're going to answer that after this short commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Hotline Show. I am still with Mr. Joseph Ochieno from the Uganda People's Congress. We start on that particular issue, but also more after this short commercial break. You're watching Digitalk TV.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hi, Rogers. Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes, it can. Although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, from that short commercial break. You're watching the Hotline Show, and my name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. We are into the second and final hour for the show. I am privileged to be joined by a gentleman from the Uganda People's Congress. His name is Joseph Ochieno. He is always here with us, and of course it's not something that we take lightly, sir. So we honor you and thank you so much for always making time for Digitalk TV. As we went for the break, we're still delving into the issue of the bill itself, and I'm asking, based on the evidence that you have today over coffee itself, why shouldn't it be merged with the Ministry of Agriculture? What really is there apart from the mistrust itself?
I haven't said that it shouldn't be merged.
What is your idea?
I was basically elaborating that the arguments made by the regime is hollow. And while you talk about mistrust, is it about for me? Possibly not. Me is not about trusting NRA. I know NRA and I don't believe them anyway. So people who given them their trust forever, matter for them after 40 years. So it's not about this, basically a matter of fact, really. I am simply saying that the argument NRA has made about costs, rationalizing mainstreaming, just like what they did during COVID, that all of us need to, the whole world, people reviewed in Kenya, cabinet shrunk, look at your budgets, all of us need to tighten our belts. But this business of asking the poorest of the poor to tighten their belts, except you guys, is both hypocritical and wrong. And that's why, as I said, I don't know whether how some of these people claim that they're related to Jesus. So I'm simply saying that
Yes,
you can't rationalize that, and I know I'll answer you, but I need to conclude this point.
Please do.
That, and I know you and I ever had a conversation about these things, that the context that I give is not about discussing the past.
Yes.
The context that I give is the nearest, most recent comparative analysis.
Okay.
And in any case, your guest is a leader of a political party.
Yes.
Your guest is variously experienced.
Yes.
And so your guest is also a scholar. And on some of these issues, you must give background, you must give context, you must give comparative analysis. And in any case, one of the things you're asking me, you're going to ask me for evidence. So I must draw reference. So now that I'm saying, you can't argue that when you are running such a big government. Uganda's government under NRA is amongst the biggest. In size of our cabinet, is amongst the biggest in the world, bigger than India.
Yeah, we have 81 members of parliament.
Bigger than America.
Wow.
Bigger than Russia. Bigger than China.
And all these countries are
bigger than the United Kingdom.
bigger than us in population.
In population, in power, in GDP, and in everything.
Yes.
Uganda's parliament, in terms of size, per population per capita, is amongst the population per capita is possibly worse, but generally is amongst the biggest. So we are amongst the most represented politically, most represented, and yet politics and deliverables in terms of services in Uganda
Still
are amongst the worst in the world.
And yet we have 529 members of
Precisely.
parliament.
And so
81 ministers.
It just does not make sense that all of a sudden you wake up and say, oh, we want to rationalize because we want to save. I'm saying it is not about that. You are doing this thing because you've got your family business, you've got certain particular interests that you want to push.
Okay, so if
and in
Mr.
any case, the Ugandans have gone ahead and argued that maybe do this thing in order to make sure that you continue to impoverish Ugandans, control them. You know, some people made that argument, but I wanted to come to that. But I still want to conclude. I know I'm sorry I'm boring you, but I need to say this. When I stopped at Kirunda, Chirunda, and I know why I'm going this. As a Secretary General and Minister for Internal Affairs, the only other person who had a special car, and I got this from his son, who was a professor abroad, was our former Prime Minister Otemale Madi, Eric, the late. He had a Benz of a higher grade than all cabinet ministers. And this the grade of his Benz, he's series, I think 300 series. Okay, let me go to 300 series. So his Mercedes, his car, Obote's car, and Muanga's car, the vice president, were of the same series, basically. That's the point.
Yes.
But on particular occasions, he had an extra car, you know, which was provided, and his son confirmed to me that. All the rest of the ministers, including the Speaker of Parliament, had one car, same make. One car, same make. Ministers, cabinet ministers, deputy ministers, NRA have found a new language they call them state minister, but they're actually the ministers of state, meaning deputy ministers.
Or some others call them junior ministers.
Whatever, basically deputy ministers, but whatever the case. And we had no ministry that had more than one deputy, whatever. I think Prime Minister's Office had two ministers. I think Minister of State, Prime Minister's Office, I think, and I think President's, I think they had to include an ambassador plenipotentiary, which is equivalent of that. Point is, all these people had the same types of cars, Mercedes-Benz, one, but two, they had one driver, okay, and three, they had one escort. All of them. Do you get where I'm going?
I'm getting where you're going.
All of them, including in this case even the Prime Minister. And the Inspector General of Police, by the way, Mr. Gola, who's a fantastic guy from Toro, by the way. You know, a very decent guy, now fantastically retired because he was a genuine Inspector General of Police. That's the last Inspector General of Police Uganda had. Okay? Isn't Mercedes-Benz car? UP, him alone, driver, behind, one police escort.
Here, even I know an RDC who even has a police patrol that goes before him.
So what is going on? So who in heaven is fooling who in this republic?
So what you're trying to mean is that if Mr. Museveni is talking about rationalization, he should start with rationalizing his ministers, his PISOs, GISOs, RDCs, RCCs, LC5s, all that.
Absolutely. And many of these advisors, and by the way, Museveni pretends, he claims he's an intellectual, and that's what I was going to say earlier. Claims that he's an intellectual. But why does he have so many official advisors?
Like a president, he needs to have a lot.
How many advisors did Obote have?
I don't know, you can.
Obote was the most fantastic president this country has ever had. Delivered the best programs in this country, both Obote 1 and Obote 2. How many advisors did he have? I don't know any. I don't know any who worked as a special advisor to the president. I don't know anybody. I knew civil servants in president's office, like this bunch have, many of them NRA cadres. So, however good you are at law, if you're not an NRA cadre, you'll not end up in president's office. But that's all. So in any case, so why? Why all these? You guys, Ugandans, wake up. You're being taken for a ride by NRA and by Mr. Museveni. And this thing is not working 40 years later. So now, back. We argued somehow that we wanted to rationalize because militaries were incompetent and poor, incompetent, and some of these people needed to be, these things needed to be broken up and create UNRWA's et al. And then pay them well and whatever, make them arm's length, and then they deliver. It was a false argument. But they went ahead with it. False argument in the sense that, well, if you have a ministry that cannot deliver,
yes, sir.
The issue is you. Depends on who you've appointed as ministers. Depends on how you allow your son and sometimes people's girlfriends to become permanent secretaries in ministries. You know that permanent secretaries are the highest civil servants. So in traditional time, did you know that in the last UPC administrations, Uganda civil service, by the time Amin took over in 71, we had the best qualified, this was official, civil service on the African continent.
Wow.
So meaning, when you join civil service from your graduation, you graduate and then you join public service, things like that. You rise through formally, through training, including, remember, you know, down Ginger Road, we have, whatever they called it, a future UPC government would review that actually. It's now called UMI, Uganda Management Institute.
Yes, I know it.
Whoever came with this funny name, whatever, I don't know. That was called the Institute of Public Administration, IPS. So, if you graduate and you join public service, you basically have to be oriented through the Institute of Public Administration.
It's not just...
Did you know that, by the way?
No.
Yes.
Merit, you have to go through all
Precisely. And so, by the time somebody has gone to middle rank, you know, possibly senior officer, principal officer position at a ministry in the government, the critical thinkers, they run departments, run operations, run departments. So by the time somebody becomes an undersecretary in a ministry, that person is deep power. So an undersecretary in Ministry for Transport must have the capacity to run a ministry, whether or not the political appointed minister turns up day one, two,
because
three,
they are skilled in that.
But do you get?
There is a wealth of knowledge.
Absolutely, young man. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Why are you not yet annoyed? Me, I got annoyed long time ago. So sometimes some of us end up on this program and then we think we enjoy our voices. No. Our voices are fantastic and we live with them for the rest of our lives.
Now you carry someone and you put them in a ministry and you see that, okay, this person is a soldier. Practically you think they are not fit for such an... I will give an example without fear of contradiction. For example, the Minister for ICT. This person is a trained doctor. So how about you got someone who's trained in ICT itself, because then they can have a vision for that particular entity. So I'm trying to get what you're saying, sir.
You know, that's fair enough, the point. But you know, I just want to put a disclaimer that political appointments at ministerial positions may not necessarily apply. But the technical but you make the point. But the technical people, you know, up to, yes, PS, permanent secretary, is the highest level of civil servant. Exactly. So they're the experts in that. So basically, yes, if the PS is there, you may be a medical doctor who's clever enough, like Edgar, and a political head, and you've got a briefing from maybe your president, you've got a briefing from your strategic party manifesto in terms of what you want to do. You also have part of your own vision, you share it. It's by and large, it's a fair point you make, but by and large, with a program, with the technocrats in there, say, no, sir, you can't. These are the realities of the ground.
Exactly.
That is why, you know, if you see like, away from Trump, just take the best country for these things, is Britain, where a recent Keir Starmer cabinet comes. You come and then they go for civil service briefing. So the civil servants at cabinet office will open up for you the boxes and then you face the realities. This is the state of the economy, this is the state of security, this is the state of agriculture, this is the state of health, the state of infrastructure, you know? Advisory guys from inflations, ABCD, whatever can. Your policies that you're seeing about whether you're trying to sell people, whatever, you know, they can only feed from ABCD. Realities come in.
Okay.
Now, that is a government that functions, that's a state that function. That's what Barack Obama told African leaders, Nyongo clapping at Addis Ababa when he visited. Look, you know, we don't want strong leaders, we want strong institutions.
Okay.
Edgar, do you get me?
I get you, sir. And I want, because of time, I wanted us
I have lived some of these things. I've worked some of these things. You know, I've worked merely in local government abroad. And so have I engaged ministers and public servants. You know, what I know, just to conclude, what I know, which happened here under Obote governments,
yes,
and this bunch spoiled it. And I see the possibilities for these countries and the challenges facing this continent and the challenges facing the new world with, strange sentimental guys like Trump's coming to take on the America. When Africa right now has to fight for its own, meaning young, sharp brains like yourselves need to come and to be cultivated and to cultivate.
Okay,
and to have the capacity, Edgar, just to conclude this, to have the capacity to run projects, Uganda, Edgar, you and your others, who are now being suppressed in the streets of Kampala because of Kadashi politics.
Please comment on
it's almost criminal.
How the August House, the sanctity of Parliament, how it can be vetted by people we don't know, and it's business as usual, sir. I don't know, you have a wealth of experience in these things. How can people enter the people's house? Isn't it called a people's house? You enter the people's house, current legislators put them out, and it continues a business as usual. And remember, this is not the first time, sir. In 2017, we saw the same case. A point in time, we saw the same case in courts of law. Sir, just continue on that particular point.
Earlier when I was telling you about cabinet ministers, I emphasized to you the fact that the last minister for UPC traveled in the same car as the then government side chief whip, who was my area member of parliament, the late Cindy Kwangwar, and in the same car as Nathan Okwakol, who was a deputy minister down from Palisa, my fantastically beautiful cousin Teru Dongo Duka, deputy minister for health, from Lira South, as it were. And so I'm sure Philemon Mateke, who was Minister of State for Education, now of Kisoro, and Kisoro where there's a by-election taking place, where I hope the people of Kisoro will remember the fantastic services provided for by UPC and under Philemon Mateke, who was then Minister of State for Education, and under Professor Isaac Ojok, need to know Jok as Minister, deputized by Dr. Mateke. How these guys pushed urgent regeneration of education, including opening up of new secondary schools in every sub-county across the country in 4.5 years, that people will recognize and remember that, people of Kisoro, that that's how these things work and operate. And that likewise in the neighboring Kisoro, there was our Minister for Health, Dr. Nkwasibe. Good enough is also still down there in Kabale, I'm told. I need to be able to have tea with him, deputized again by my cousin, Teru Dongo Duka as Deputy Minister of Health, and that they provided excellent services. But all these people were driving the same car, because one car, one driver, personal driver,
one escort,
and an escort who's a police officer. Now, the other day, I see my fantastic, beautiful sister, Madam Speaker under NRA among Anire. She lands, and then you see from the TV cameras as if Parliament has been invaded, or an American president has landed. And by then, the entire National Assembly has already been surrounded by mean-looking guys as if terror is here. No. It is a desecration of the National Assembly. It's a desecration of the National Assembly because what is it that legislators do that would require that kind of security presence? Again, in any case, to me, it's absolute misuse of public resources. Because these guys go to guard those places. They're paid.
Yes.
We need these guys in law enforcement. We need these guys to be helping to check mobile phone thieves. We need these guys to be checking people who break into people's homes. We need these guys to be investigating people who steal mabati, particularly from Karamoja, the poorest of the poor. That's what we need these police officers to be doing, not in the National Assembly, members of parliament in other nation states, they travel by bus, they travel by trains, they meet with
So
everybody.
Rishi Sunak riding a bicycle to work, the former Prime Minister of the
And
UK.
by the way, the only recently retired mother of the British House of Commons, meaning the longest serving female member,
Yes.
was a Solicitor General and Secretary of State for Health, so cabinet minister 3 times. At the peak when she was, both Secretary of State for Health and the Solicitor General, I had occasions to travel with her. One time when Bunny Grant is the member of parliament, African member of parliament who died and was replaced by a young David Lammy, who was then a young Harvard guy, which David Lammy is now the current British Foreign Secretary from the same parliament constituency. So we went to the funeral of Bunny Grant, and we traveled, 3 of us, in Harriet Hammond's car. She was driving herself, no driver.
Wow.
Yeah? And all throughout that time, because I've been there with these guys, I never saw an extra person in the name of security. Never.
Yeah.
So a cabinet minister, straight from work, except her ministerial aides, meaning the girls with a bag and notebook, and those are ministerial and or parliamentary aides, basically, which we all have. You know? Huh? What is it that we're being taught and told in Uganda? And nyongo freedom. What is it? So no, it is manipulation, it is inventing of fear, it is perfecting an art of continued, really in the way, some people almost call it national occupation by an establishment and an establishment group. And so do it like that so that people have fear, people don't engage, people don't discuss, people don't question, or you don't go there. No wonder many young people say to me that, fear, politics. No, please, you guys, you must get, you're either engaged in politics or you'll find that your children and children's children continue in the kind of slavery that we broke a few years ago. So, National Assembly, it shouldn't be that. But why do I talk about Francis Butagira? Francis Butagira is now a retired, fantastic guy. I cannot imagine Mr. Speaker when he watches these things on television. Thankfully, what he thinks. You know, all I could remember him, nobody would call him Mr. Speaker, sir. And of course, very soft-spoken guy. That's the last speaker we had in the National Assembly. Meaning, Parliament was a temple of legislation. You know, Parliament was a place where you go and see members of Parliament. You see, they're your ordinary people, but they're really people who really qualify to be called.
So what should we call that Parliament now?
I do not know, but that's a matter for you guys who choose to take it as it is. But that's the National Assembly. And then you see the Black Mamba thing, and then you see these scouts that at least Kadaga protested. Now, whether her protest was a show or not, is neither here nor there. But it was extraordinary. But now let me take you right inside.
At least it's on record. At least she even wrote a document to say, who are these people that invaded their August house? It's on record. They did not answer it, but at least it's on record.
Yeah. Then I take you inside. And then you find legislators, people who now end up in the assembly. You know, many of these people are not elected. You know, many of these people, some of these people are selected. I know a particular sub-region where there was a national crisis, I think I'll not mention it. And an NRA legislator from there was engaging with certain people over a particular issue. The legislator allegedly pulled off because he didn't want his name to be associated with a campaign demanding for particular services or justice in his place, because he had been told, maybe from sources from associated powers from a particular, maybe above from the corner, that if you do that, we will not back you at the next election. You know? So the guy pulled aside. So if that is the kind of people we have, then you have zombies. You know, there is something, was it Spire, my fantastic friend Spire, who did this thing that in NRA, you know, when you join NRA, you know, the chop, tick, tick, push off the drain, tick, 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 tick. You've seen that? Yes. I don't know. So that is funny, actually. That's funny.
That you lose your sense of thinking, you lose what your own mind is.
I don't know. I did not say that.
Another person's mind.
I did not say. So if that's the case, so you can imagine what some people are.
Yes,
but then number two, then you know people selected and pushed in those places. So people would have been scheming, and people already scheming now, can see them around the country because they go around the country. People scheming on who should be the favorite person to qualify, to be endorsed by the special altar, the special altar for picking people who should be candidates on a particular ticket. You know, so you have to behave. So in any case, the guys who behave in a particular way, the guys who then go ahead and manipulate in a particular way, and behaving and manipulating in a particular way could mean anything, including Karamoja, you know? Those are the guys who end up in National Assembly. Now, some people are saying, but Ochieno, what are you talking about? The two legislators who did this are both from political opposition. No, I am talking about the quality of the National Assembly. I'm talking about the tone of the National Assembly. Because in that National Assembly, had it had men and women of the quality of only Congress can produce and generate, and men and women that this country, including from DP and other political parties, maybe even UPM's Kionga, if Kionga came to Parliament at the time in the 80s, because it was one, and it really suffered in 1980, one legislator came in, and you sit in the assembly in which you know, etiquette, table manners, you know, a culture in the household. This is this household. You know, the UPC way. You know, sometimes I keep, I talk to you, we normally talk off air about certain things, you know. This is the Ochieno way. This is the UPC way. Edgar, this is the youth way. This is the way you guys should be behaving as young Ugandans. This is how we behaved, you know, in our youthful times. That's why I remind people, I never fought. I've never fought, and I'm still a fantastic guy. And don't you think I'm okay?
You are excellent.
You know, okay. And do you like my tie?
I love it.
Yeah. So,
yes,
but, you know, I've never fought.
So
nothing makes me less a man. And I think, let me just make this point. Nothing makes me less of a man. Okay? So if that's the culture. This is us. So it's possible to grow up and not fight in the fields and call people names.
So
you know?
what should Ugandans now do? Because the country is degenerating. If I tell people that everything that seems to be everything that you seem to see is literally going wrong, for lack of a better word.
You guys wake up. When I say wake up, Ugandans, they've stopped saying that, by the way. I remember 4 years ago, I joined the UPC race basically to reclaim UPC leadership, bring it together, mobilize, and then deliver UPC as the alternative mainstream political party here, working with other opposition party to challenge NRA. And some people there's a particular NRA-backed social media which is about 95% NRA. I know them, you know, and the people say, no, Ochieno is angry. You know, they say Ochieno is angry. So no, it's not about anger, no. It is urgent that we, as they, sort out ourselves. It's urgent that we woke up and ensure that we do not teach you guys some of the bad manners that some of our colleagues have picked. But it's also extremely urgent that you young Ugandans wake up to the reality that you're being shortchanged by a particular bunch and particular culture. That's not going to take you anywhere. Okay, sir. And that can only happen through you guys getting involved. And so some of the things I continuously do is to say that, look, guys, better is possible. This country is possible. And whatever is happening, you're being shortchanged so much. So a young guy who grows up and knows that it's not right to steal a pen, it's decent to be decent. It's responsible to learn to train to how you present yourself in public. it's cool to have a disagreement. I mean, it's okay to have a disagreement and civil. And it's okay to go to university and sometimes possibly not become a guild president because you've tried. And that perhaps that guild president who defeated you, maybe even simply because the girls thought he was much more smarter physically. Because some of those things emotionally happen, and you know it, and then you take it personally. So no, that could actually be a colleague next time, things like that. Okay, sir. And then run with it, go into public life, and then very quickly realize that you're a role model to society. That post-university, now what do my younger siblings say about me? What do they see? What am I in my family? I actually the burden of responsibility, including to mainstream my parents, who were not exposed beyond Tororo, that this is what happens around the world, Baba. It's this. So that's my burden, but also my community. And particularly then you go ahead and become a legislator. No, you're a national leader like you, Edgar. People watch you as an anchor. You must behave responsibly wherever you go. And in many cases, you might have to go and someone might have to abuse you. You'll have to hold back because you're an example. Because in any case, I don't want to use the pig language because for Muslim brethren, but no, there's people said when it's swine fight, because the animal will not bother. They'll junk mud around you, kind of stuff. So you need to be careful how you do it. Okay, sir. But in a situation in which there is no role model from the top, from State House, you have a president who calls people swines. You have a president who calls people stupid. You have a president who uses the word, by the way, in Jesus' name, Milton Obote as your president and founding father would never use those words. Would never. Idiots. And idiots and all this kind of, and then and disagrees. And including one says you voted wrongly. And then you did this to opposition and whatever. Like the other. I'm not a servant of anybody. And there's abuse that you're abusing the people who Bukedi over where this guys just come from. In such kind of situation. So you're going to give us your party shots. Yeah, because I'm saying in that situation, it's going to be very difficult for children of your household, not to disrespect you, but children of your household to grow and see you as a role model. So it's not surprising that that we've got people who don't learn. I'm trying to say that those two guys would not function like that in the last parliament, 1980s parliament, for example, or a future parliament in which UPC is a president. Okay. Because the quality of guys that we send, the rules that we do, both from their own respective political parties. You remember, here I'm trying to talk about parliament itself. You can actually be a crooked boy who does not know how to use table cutlery on table. But when you go down there and everywhere else and one of five, my friend, you'll have to behave, including you'd rather decide not to drink water until the end of the meal if you're not sure how to hold the glass. Yes, sir. All right. So it's basically that. Okay. So what happened is a manifestation of a national mess. It's a shame that young Mr. Zake behaved the manner in which he did. It has been argued that he was provoked. My point is that even if he was provoked, as legislators, there was no reason why he did not smartly use that to his advantage. Since he already had the floor and he already had the mics around him, he could just have said, look at these guys. So actually, he could have played those guys if he played emotionally, strategically intelligent against a call. Okay. Likewise, people have defended a call that, a call because Zaki pushed him first. It's another nonsense. I do not know that even at my colleague pushes you, at that stage, the thing is to bash him. Violence is not the solution. It's zero. So both of these guys committed offenses, criminal offenses, in my opinion, and these are beyond and above a parliamentary privilege. And as I understand it, of course, Madam Speaker hasn't yet referred a call or anybody else, because there is this speculation to talk about public trust, that maybe a call had been set up. I'm not quite sure. That's a narrative that is it's a little bit of a stretch, but whatever the case, the focus is on the two. The conducts are unbecoming of people who should be honorable in my name, in an Uganda National Assembly. I am sad, and as I said, I've said it in other programs, that I've got grandchildren, and my grandchildren, for me, I don't watch violent movies. It's my instruction that my grandchildren don't. I don't know what my elder grandson, who's extremely sharp and clever, watching that would be thinking about. going forward.
Okay, sir.
It's a shame.
Thank you so much. Please give us your parting shots as we come to the end of the show.
I just hope that Ugandans wake up. I just hope that they recognize that whatever happens with the coffee legislation is a manifestation of people who don't care about them. But I also recognize that coffee will continue to be coffee. And I recognize that we had a coffee marketing board that did the excellent job that whatever it did. And that UNRWA, if you see the videos doing around by Alan Kajina, who's a fantastic lady, by the way, and how she's battling over the fact that the severance deal that they had provided to the ministry was a different figure from what the ministers and ministers did. That even on this deal alone, the ministry says that the compensation package is 46 billion. And then the Kajinas, together with the ministries, are done, I think, 100 plus billion Uganda shillings. So if you see that we've got a system in which, even adding up the numbers about staff whom you're either sacking, retiring, or transferring, or some that you're mainstream, even that, the contradictions, it tells you that under NRA regime, unfortunately, things work only by accident.
Wow, thank you so much. You remind me of the saying of Mr. Obote, that Mr. Museveni is a pathological liar who only lies by mistake, who only tells the truth by mistake.
Could you repeat that?
No. The viewers have listened. Thank you so much, Honorable Joseph Ochieno. But also thank you so much to our viewers who have been watching us from the time we started up to right now. I always tell you that we have these conversations to really make Uganda a better place, not to just scorn or blame. I was with Dr. Messenger and he said that it's okay to blame, but we do not bring these shows to just blame, but we want to make Uganda a better place. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can watch this episode once again on our YouTube. It's there. On Facebook it's also there, but Facebook in Uganda is still a bit locked, but you can find us alternatively on YouTube. Thank you so much from the entire team. Alibawa has been on camera, and of course a gentleman called Mukose Arnold is always in the production. From the entire team, we shall see you tomorrow. We have the president of the Human Rights Network for Journalists, that is Mr. Sempala. He's going to be with us tomorrow at exactly 8 a.m. So please do tune in at that time. We shall be talking about issues journalism, but also how the journalists were treated when they are in Parliament. We shall be talking about that and much more. So please do join the conversation tomorrow at exactly 8 a.m. From the entire team, may God bless you and have yourself a beautiful night.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.